My fellow drivers, food delivery drivers, one thing I have noticed over the years is that drivers, gig workers actually are not really up to speed on their legal rights, right? In fact, drivers really need to go out there and educate themselves. For example, how do I file with the American Arbitration Association? How do I get an arbitrator if I forgot to opt out of all of these contracts, right? Because Uber will turn around and say, hey, you didn't opt out of that contract, so that's it, tough. You can't go to court, you can't go to superior court, you can't go and get yourself an attorney, you got to go to arbitration. Arbitration is not in your favor. What I've also noticed, and I mean, we've done hundreds, if not close on to 2,000 cases of reactivations, right, at gigrocket.com, right? You'll see a course there for $69 where we help drivers get reactivated. And drivers have absolutely no knowledge, like, hey, what can I do? What can he or she do as a driver after they've been wrongfully deactivated right now? If you have opted out of all of these terms of service changes, they send you a change, and then they say you have to agree to continue driving. You agree, and then you have 30 days to opt out, right? You need to learn, how do I opt out of these updated agreements, right? You need to learn how to file a small claims case, right? Because if you have been wrongfully deactivated, for example, you're losing money. You're losing a lot of money, right? Could be $1,000 or $1,500 a week. Have you educated yourself on how much you can claim in California? $10,000. Have you educated yourself how much you can go and claim in small claims court in Texas? Up to $20,000. It's a lot of money, right? So the reason why I'm making this video is because we recently had a driver get a pretty decent settlement, like $12,000 from Lyft, the maximum for his state. Some states allow up to $12,000, but going into this, he had no clue how to do it. So very often I'd have to like hold this guy's hand and say, well, you know, you're the plaintiff, they are the defendant, you need to serve the papers. Do you actually, as a driver, know how to serve papers? Do you know how to file a small claims? Do you know how to opt out of an agreement? Do you know how to file an arbitration, right? These are the type of things where I see, and this is my opinion, this is no judgment against you, this is just generally what I have been noticing over the years, that drivers have a very strong lack of understanding when it comes to their legal rights. What happens in an accident, right? What happens if your riders get hurt, if you get hurt, if your car gets damaged, right? Who do you turn to, right? Misclassification lawsuits, which class actions can you, can you join? I had a guy yesterday, I've probably, out of the $20 million of settlements of just one law firm that got $20 million of settlements, I probably brought $7 to $8 million of that value to that law firm, right? But going in, the drivers really didn't know, like, oh, I can actually make money. Yesterday, another guy got $12,200. Last week, I got a guy $12,000, right? Misclassification lawsuits. Have you educated yourself? Which states can you file in? Who is still currently accepting class actions, right? For example, Massachusetts is, California is, but did you know this? So I'm not trying to judge and say, oh, drivers are completely misinformed or just simply don't know. No, what you can do, You know, you can go onto Google, you can go onto YouTube, you can educate yourself. How do I file a small claims? How do I do this, right? So at GigRocket, for example, we will file the appeal for you, right, if you have been wrongfully deactivated. And unlike a couple of other services out there that just send out a letter, right, letter's not going to do much for you. In our approach is, hey, here is the appeal Uber, here is the appeal Lyft or Amazon or Instacart or Shipt or DoorDash, here's the appeal, and if you do not act, we will sue you. You know, whether it's through small claims court or whether it's through arbitration. We want to get the driver monies, right? There is nothing better, my friends, than getting a driver's account back after a wrongful deactivation because of some BS made up story by a rider, and then on top of it, right, Uber or Lyft or DoorDash still has to pay you money. You get your account back, you get your dignity back, you get your respect back, and you get a nice check. That's what I have packaged up at GigRocket with my team. So check it out at gigrocket.com or text or email me. My details are below. If you need any help with reactivations, if they haven't paid you, right, or they haven't given you your bonus, or they owe you money, right, don't just like walk away, my friends. Stand up and fight. Educate yourself. Go on YouTube. Go on Google. Ask the questions. Ask me the questions. Hey, what can I do? But the reason for my video was simple today. It was not to put drivers down and say, hey, you guys really don't know much about this. It was not about judging you as the driver or food delivery driver, saying, listen, why don't you do something, or why don't you educate yourself, right? Or why are you so uninformed or misinformed, right? No, the goal of this video is to say there's money out there for you. Don't sit back, right? Bring the fight to them, right? You know, when a family has lost a loved one that's been murdered or stabbed or carjacked, you go out there and get the best attorneys. You sue the shit out of them, right? You attach everyone as a defendant. The company, the gig company, the perpetrators make money, right? The guy in Riverside that got beaten up by a DJ with a microphone or something, slashed through the face. I went out and got him a lot of money. The guy that got defamed by Snoop Dogg, I went out there and got him a lot of money. The hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drivers that were wrongfully deactivated, I go out there with my team, get the account back, get them back on the platform, and hopefully get them some form of settlement. And if you do not get a settlement, at least you can use, right, the threat, the actual filing, not even the threat, but the filing of a small claims or the filing of an arbitration. Say, listen, here, I'm serving you. Go educate. How do you serve papers, right? How do you serve it? Service has to be done through a third party. Go and check how that's done. Once they are served, you have now so much negotiation power, right? Say, I'll see you in court. You owe me $6,000. And Uber and Lyft usually come back with the attorneys and paralegals and say, listen, you know, we'll give you another chance. Please drop the charges. If you drop the charges and you get your account back, you've won. That's a victory, right? So these are the type of things where I believe, my opinion, drivers could still learn a lot, right? Learn a lot. And my sort of like my education or my journey as far as the legal system, whether it's the European, the South African, or the American legal system, I've always been fascinated by the law, right, is the following, right? I went through a brutal 6-year divorce. And when I was seeing what attorneys were trying to do to me, right, I'm like, F that. I'm going to stand up as a dad. I'm a great father, right? And I'm going to fight. And, you know, I took on multiple law firms at the same time because they filed in 3 different counties, right? Because I had a lot of real estate and I had a lot of commercial real estate in 3 different counties, Orange County, San Bernardino County, and Los Angeles County. And I stood up and fought. And I learned so much during the process. In fact, I would go down and sit in the courthouse. You can do this. And sit in cases, right? Listen to the judge, deliberate, listen to how the whole thing is orchestrated. Listen, learn, listen, learn, listen, learn, case after case after case. Hundreds of cases I sat in and learned and listened and took notes. Then I had paralegals educating me. How do I do this? How do I file request for admissions? How do I file motions to compel? How do I file form interrogatories? How do I file special interrogatories? How do I file how do I get a deposition going? How do I file subpoenas, right? Everything is there. You just have to go out and educate yourself. So even in a family case where you're going through a divorce, you can educate yourself and represent yourself. It's called in pro per. If you do not have the money, right, to hire an attorney for $20,000-$30,000, right, educate yourself. That's what I do. It's like, I'm not gonna spend a few $100,000 on attorneys. I'm gonna see what I can do. So I filed all these papers. I used to sit in the law library on Hill Street in downtown LA, going through cases after cases that were won on appeal. Why were they won on appeal? What was the case law? What was the case about, right? So you can go out there, and it's incredible how much knowledge a human being can take up. Take it from me, right? So, and ended up winning. Just winning and winning and winning and getting smarter in that field, feeling more empowered, feeling more confident about my case or cases, right? And that's sort of like led me into standing up for drivers, right? I do not like to see drivers being bullied around, being shoved around, being baited and switched. I don't like that. It gets me going. So I'm telling you, the little guy can take on the big guy this easy. You just have to stand up and stick it to them, right? And a lot of little guys can join a class action and really, really hurt